Ed needs to fish little flies to understand how easy and simplistic stimmies are. Stimmy isn't the only thing in the box.
It's the only thing in my box.
We'll let you stimmy in the evening. We'll let Reid throw some nymphs, and we'll wait for you to go. All right, I'm ready to catch some fish.
All right,
That's right.
all right.
Welcome to Guys Fishing Weekly. We don't just fish, we hook.
Hey, buddy.
Eddie, what's good, brother?
What's good, man? It sounds like you were coming at me with a different intro today, but no, you stuck with the orig.
Yeah, I did. Yep, I'm keeping you on your toes, brother. Yes,
You are.
indeed. It's like the pump fake,
Seriously.
How are you, dude?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm getting pumped. We got a trip coming up.
Yes, we do. Each day that goes by, I'm getting more and more stoked.
Yeah.
The stoke level rises.
Yes. Stoke level is creeping higher. It's not at optimum stoke, but it's high.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I think that's going to be Saturday morning for me. Optimum stoke. As I keep looking at the clock, waiting for you to get to town. That's going to be it for me. Anyway, yeah, an adventure up north to Wyoming in Yellowstone National Park, down through the Tetons. We are going to go crush some fish for sure.
Heck yeah, we are.
Yeah. Meeting some people along the way as well, which is great. We reached out and got some contacts, and so that's going to be pretty awesome to grow the community in that realm as well.
Yeah, we got some great shows coming up down the road, talking with some interesting people up in Northwest Wyoming. So excited to share those, and yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Super stoked. So with this goodness in life, Ed, what's one thing that Eddie is celebrating these days?
I am celebrating some recent compliments that we have gotten on the show, and I am pleased to hear that it is resonating with people and that people enjoy, what we're talking about, much more than fishing and just seeing other examples and modeling of other men in the world. So I think it gets me excited to hear that people enjoy listening to the messages and the messages of others, and just gives me the fire to keep going after it. So that's what I'm celebrating.
Absolutely. I think that idea of seeing other people and passing that on and doing what we can for that, it's good stuff, man. Feels good. That's for sure.
For sure.
So it's good to get some kudos from it. That's
No
great,
doubt.
man.
Yeah. What are you celebrating?
I am celebrating the fact that I created a space for my father and my brother and I to connect. We read a book called Being Mortal, which we featured in one of our newsletters. But the three of us read that book as my father's 88 years old, and he was willing to read that. And we had fantastic discussion around it. We jumped on. We're all in different parts of the country, so it was great to be able to create a space for the three of us to connect and talk about, getting old and decisions in some of those tough conversations. But my dad was amazing and really not afraid of getting into some of that stuff. And so I think it was super helpful for all of us, all three of us. And so we don't get to connect that often. And so creating that third space felt pretty good. It was pretty cool, creating that space for us. So that's awesome, what I'm celebrating. Man. Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm glad that you were able to make that intentionality and that effort to make that happen, because it's not easy to do. It's hard to find space to talk about those things. So glad you're able to do that.
Yeah. So it felt good. That was awesome. How about navigation, Ed? What are you navigating?
I am navigating the final prep before a big trip. You always think you have enough time to get things in line before you head out the door, and it just never works out that way. There's always a phone call to make, or a a chore to finish that you're just like, it's almost like they stack up more right before you're headed on a trip. It's sort of absurd. So that's what I'm navigating right now is trying to just get on the road. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get on the road.
Right. Yeah. The sooner you do that, the better. No. Yeah. There's always something that comes up, right? That's inevitable. But yeah, good navigation.
But every time I'm so hopeful. Like right before a trip, you're like, it's gonna be great. Like I've got everything ready, and then it just comes along where it's just like not. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it how it happens every time.
One of those anomalies of life.
It is. It is. So that's what I'm navigating. What are you navigating?
Well, as you know, my insurance runs out at the end of next month, so I'm navigating insurance for my family and coverage, and it is incredibly overwhelming with all the different kinds of stuff, the age where we are, the ailments, the considerations and all of that stuff. It's overwhelming. I'm like a deer in headlights. But so I'm navigating that. We're, trying to figure some stuff out in that realm and pull the trigger on something and get that set up, because the running out of insurance is going to come upon us quickly, and so I got to get my ducks in a row with that. So that's my navigation. It's not a very fun navigation.
Yeah. Seriously. Total buzzkill.
Yeah, I know, but a necessity. I have to. So, yeah. But anyway, so that's my navigation. Not an awesome one. Not
awesome
as cool as like navigating for a good trip.
Yeah.
That sounds way better.
Way better. But
you win the navigation.
You need insurance because it sounds like we could probably get eaten by a bear where we're going. So you're gonna need some insurance.
That's true.
Well, one piece of housekeeping before we get into today's interview, we have a survey that we're hoping people will fill out regarding kind of in-person meetups and what guys would like those to look like. So we're going to post that on our website, our socials, wherever, and hopefully guys will fill it out and get us some feedback as to what they would enjoy the most, and we'll take it from there and kick off some awesome events. So head over to our website and fill that out. It'd be greatly appreciated. This week we are talking with San Juan angler and guide JJ Naico of Down to Fish out of southern Colorado and northern New Mexico. Cover topics including the San Juan River, slowing down from the high-octane lifestyle, following your dreams, breaking into a new community and the mentorship that comes along with that, and so much more. So let's get into it.
Indeed.
Hey, JJ, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Great. Welcome to the show, bud. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Well, let's hop right into it. What can you give us a little background on yourself?
Yeah. I'm actually 36 years old, and I'm from South Florida.
Yes, you are.
I am. I'm from West Palm Beach, specifically, a couple hours north of Miami Beach, and I grew up fishing down there my whole life. Started out as a youngster throwing spin rods in the intercoastal in the ocean with my older brothers. They were big. They would catch a lot of bait and sell them to like the tackle shops and stuff. And I'd kind of just be there as a kid with them.
A hustler from the beginning.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I caught my first snook on like a little spin rod, like freshwater spin rod, like 10-pound test and like a freshwater lure, and swam right up onto the beach at my feet. That kind of set it off. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then now I'm out here in Colorado, and about 40 miles from the San Juan River, and I love it. I love it here. I wouldn't change anything. You couldn't pay me to go back down south.
Right? Yeah. I got you there. I know I came out to school in 85 and never left, dude. Been out here ever since.
Good for you.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. There's something about this place that's just golden. It gets you and it doesn't let go. Mm-hmm. So you were spin fishing a lot in Florida. You didn't really do any fly fishing as a kid, right?
Right.
How did that come about for you?
So finding these rivers, and finding just a different way to fish. Like I started throwing like jig baits and stuff, and I'm trying to think. There's like not cast master baits. Anyways, like spin baits. I started throwing those a little bit, but then like you don't catch as much. And then I started learning that there was a better way to fish for these fish, and it just took off. And then fishing my whole life, I picked it up pretty quick. Like I hate to say it, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but some people are fishy. I like to believe that I'm a fishy person.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
And I learned that fly fishing would put me on more fish. And then who doesn't want to catch more fish? So I like to nymph.
Right.
I like to see a bobber or an indicator go down, because you don't really know what's going to be on the end of that line until you really get to see it. And I think that's really cool. I tell like my clients all the time is treat every fish as a big fish, because you never know until we like get a little flash or something,
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. How did you get your business started? How did you get into floating and guiding?
So I was wade fishing the river for about the first 2 years. So I've been out here fishing the San Juan for 3 years now, and fishing it hard. I mean, like at least 5 days a week. Before I even started guiding, I was fishing the river. I was wade fishing it, and I would see all the boats, because you have a boat hatch every morning. So if you're downstream of Texas Hole, you get to see the boat hatch. And it's just as good as any caddis or mayfly hatch. So I was like, well, hey, if I get a boat, then I can cover more water. If you ever wade fish with me, a lot of my friends would get burnt out quickly, because I like to cover water. I don't like to stand around one spot for like 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
And I like to fish 15 hours in a day, so we'll cover some mileage. And I was like, well, if I get a boat, then I can cover a lot more water and fish a lot more holes.
Nice.
Yeah. So then I learned how to row in a couple of the lakes, because I never really rowed anything. Yeah, I just totally fell in love, like 100% immersed everything into it.
That's awesome. Ed is a big, I'm finding that, in my older age, as I'm getting older, I'm not going to say I'm old. As I'm getting older, when I fish with Ed, who's similar in age to you, I find myself often like looking up like, where the hell did he go? My God. Like, yeah, covering ground seems to be, I'm getting a little slower. I used to be that way, but
I primarily cover ground to just stay ahead of people, so I get the holes first. That's why I move fast. That's the perks of being the youngest.
he's the most selfish. Yeah.
Yes, it's a selfish trait. I'm not
That's
the
proud
most
of it.
selfish one.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you see people moving up behind you, then why not move up?
Right. Yeah. No, it's good stuff. That's awesome.
So what drew you to the San Juan River? I know we talked briefly beforehand that it sort of roped you in, but what about the San Juan has you by the heartstrings?
So probably just the quality of fish. The quality of fish is very good. So I also started doing the water sampling with the Trout Unlimited crew. And really the river is just like pristine. It's really a really kept secret. There could be a lot more people on it. And it's just like the conditions are perfect year round. We can fish all year, winter, summer, spring, fall, like monsoon season, bring it on. And it doesn't get blown out because it's tailwater. It's coming from the Navajo Dam that was built in 1962. The water stays around 42 to, even in the hottest part of the summer, I mean, it'd be about 45 at the hottest, so we can still fish. We keep them wet. But really, I think it's just the quality of the river. It's just like is what keeps me hooked. I mean, really, the pursuit and fishing is what keeps me hooked. But also, like knowing that you could go out one day and catch a bunch of 15 or 20-inch fish, and then you go back the next day, and the first fish you hook is like 26 rainbow or 28-inch brown, and you have like a really solid fight, and you might like lose them at your feet right at the net, you know, because you're by yourself. But it's just the pursuit of what could happen each day. I think really.
That's awesome. I mean, that we've heard a lot about that river, and it is a secret gym. It's a little bit out of the way for us, but we definitely have to make our way down there.
Definitely should. Absolutely should. I would recommend it to anybody to at least come and fish it once. You get it's crazy. Like there's a lot of different things with the San Juan that is different than other places where like when I go to other places, people are looking at me like, why are you doing that? And it's just because of the things, the way it is there, you know, like a lot of people will say that like fish spook easy, and then you go down to the one and you're like, well, wait a minute, do these fish actually spook easy? Because there's about 12 of them standing right 2 feet behind my feet, eating all the junk that my boots are kicking up. And so like there we have this thing called San Juan Shuffle, where it's not good. You don't fish to those fish. They're like kind of like retarded at that point, you know, like eating all the junk coming off your feet. So you could drop anything down there and just hook up. So it's unfair.
Right.
But I mean, it shows that like fishing can really be like not as much or as hard as everyone really thinks it is sometimes, you know, like we do the San Juan slap, how we clean our flies, and we just kind of just like slap the flies on top of the water. I mean, even right over the hole that we're fishing, and it doesn't affect the fish at all. And it's cool to be able to also sight fish, you know, being that Florida boy. I love sight fishing for good fish. Yeah.
That's awesome. You talked earlier about and mentioned a little bit about the influence of your brothers in your fishing. Talk a little bit about that and what they've given you in terms of that in your love of fishing and how you approach it.
Man, like when I was a kid, 6 to 12 years old, my brothers would take me out to the inlets, and I learned how to cast, like throw a cast net and catch my own bait at a young age. But my brothers would, my one brother, Sal, that lives in Michigan now out by the lake, he specifically would throw a cast net and just would get like greenies, fill these big igloo coolers up at night. And then in the mornings, he'd be taking them to the bait shops and selling it. And then that day, we'd go out and fish with like his friends, and we'd usually hit like the ocean, and we'd fish for a lot of snapper and grouper. And he was big on kingfish and wahoo. We've caught wahoo that, I mean, like twice the size of me as a 13-year-old kid, you know, like, I mean, and he was like 6'4", and we'd hang him up from a tree and they'd be taller than him.
Wow.
Yeah. And then maybe as a young adult, like I hung out, we always grew up like with friends that had boats like on a lake or like little flats boats. And so then as like 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, we'd go out through the intercoastal and we'd hit all the dock lights at night. And you know, that was like kind of really the closest thing to fly fishing ever I got, because I always enjoyed free lining like a live shrimp to a big snook, and like right off the dock light. I mean, like it takes a lot to kind of cast a free line shrimp, you know, to like 30 feet or 20 feet or whatever it is, and we do it with spin rods. But back in the day, there was no fly fishing. I mean, as far as I can remember, like all the not fly shops, but all the tackle shops in Florida. I mean, from when I was a kid to, I mean, I hit them all the way up until my early 20s, you know, I was always fishing, and they never sold fly fishing gear. And I mean, I remember maybe like 13 or 14, my mom bought me that Shakespeare complete fly rod from Walmart. Right. And it came with like a couple of poppers, and I fished the canal in front of my house. And, you know, I caught some like brim and some bass, some smallies or largies, but like nothing crazy. And you couldn't really buy flies anywhere. Like they sold the complete in Walmart, but they didn't sell any flies. They didn't have that little fly section like they do now.
Right.
So I didn't really stick with it, but I stuck with fishing. And I would fish lakes and canals. I'd throw worms. I bass fished a lot. And it definitely just translated like with finding fish now. nowadays I've been lucky to help a few people with finding fish that are kind of important in the fly fishing world. And that's kind of been like the answer, I guess, to me
Yeah.
feeling like I am fishy is like being able to help these people find fish too. Has really just, I think, set me up since I was a kid to do what I am now. And I really believe that. Like, even though I just started fly fishing only like 3 years ago, I think that just fishing my entire life has just set me up to be who I am now and who I will be for probably the rest of my life, because I mean, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's
Right.
yeah, it's the only
Yeah.
thing I want to do anymore. I mean, like, I've skateboarded, I've BMX'd, I've done motocross, I've been mountain biking my entire life, and I sold my dirt bike to buy my drift boat.
Right
um,
on.
yeah, I got tired of getting injured at the motocross track and trying to keep up with these kids, and I was just like, you know what? I really want a boat. Let's sell the bike. I'll buy a boat. And then that was all she wrote.
Right on. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Haven't rode my mountain bike in probably a year. Probably just don't want to get injured and leave that hassle to my wife and kid either.
Right.
That's wild that you traded some pretty high octane activities for the chiller, more relaxed fly fishing. What hooked you about that? It was like a big life change right there.
A huge life change. I mean, like, going from doing that stuff your whole life, and even like winning some motocross races, and we did some desert races, like desert endurance races. And it was just a big realization, you know, like, I went over the bars, I hurt my neck, and I was just like, you know what, like, this is dumb. Like, I need to chill out. I'm getting old, and I need to take a chill pill. And it was a hard pill to swallow. But fishing has been the only thing that has been able to give me that zen.
Right.
Like, probably the only zen that I get from skateboarding still, because I still skateboard. I probably skateboard once or twice a week with my son, and it's the only thing that can really clear my head. Like, my head goes, like a lot of people, a million miles an hour all day long, nonstop. I think about the trips coming up, the trips that I had. I think about what I could have done better with anything and everything, and it just never stops. And as soon as I get on the water, it's just all gone. And I'm in that moment. That moment doesn't leave. And it's whether, like, we're trying to figure out what they're eating today, or we're just on them, or I'm just rowing down the river by myself. I go out a lot by myself. I think that helps with my research.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. R&D, baby. You got to do it in order to keep it rolling.
Have to. You got to know what the fish are eating.
So, yeah, you talk a little bit about with skateboarding with your son. Now that you are a dad, right? Your son's 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of new at this dadding thing. Did that play a role in your stopping the craziness, or did he come after that, like the injuries and that kind of thing? And then also, has he gotten into fishing with you at all? Do you take him down the river?
I do take him down the river, and he has absolutely been a role in why I've slowed down.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys ever seen like Red Bull Rampage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I used to ride like that. Not
Okay.
as big. I mean, those guys are hitting like 60 and 100-foot drops. But I mean,
Right.
we would hit like 20, 25-foot drops, like big booter jumps, like out in Green River, and the stuff that I would ride on my mountain bike, like, a lot of the times people are like, no way, like, it's hard to walk this. Like, how do you ride a bike down it? And I'm just like,
Right.
well, the bike is more forgiving. So, but yes, it 100%, having him like really made me think about like the future, and I don't want to be injured and having to put more pressure on my wife and kid, and yes, I do take him on the river, and he loves it. And I'm really trying to get him fishing, but he's still like at that age where it's like, if he doesn't have a fish on the line, then he doesn't really care. And then once the fish, if he doesn't keep that rod tip up and tight, then the fish comes off, because we're fishing barbless, and
Right.
Yeah, he's just over it. He's like, yeah, I'm good. Give me the squirt gun, or where's my monster trucks? But I do take my wife, and we do family floats quite often.
That's awesome.
Yeah, trying to get my wife to row.
Right? Yeah, then you can do a little bit more fishing.
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah, my dad didn't do a ton of fishing when we were in Florida, and I grew up in South Florida just like you, and so I didn't get into fishing until I came out to Colorado, and then it was all fly fishing. So, but yeah, that legacy piece and that idea of, I've tried to get my kids into it, and they haven't done it yet. They haven't taken to it yet, and I don't know how much of that is just like the phone distraction and the attention span of gnats that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough.
I think it's the teacher.
Yeah, it could be the teacher. It definitely could be the teacher.
I like to see myself as like a good teacher, and I had an 11-year-old on the boat like either yesterday or the day before, and she was like first maybe hour or two in, she was like, all right, well, hey Dad, I'm gonna read my Harry Potter book for a little bit. He's like, you're not gonna fish? And he's just slamming them like he was a total stick, and he's just picking them up one after another, just like, nah, I'm just gonna read my book for a little bit. This is nice. Yeah.
Right on. Oh, that's funny.
Sometimes it doesn't hook you. It takes a while to have the fishing bug bite. I mean, we were talking with a guy on a recent podcast, and his whole thing about teaching people is like, you got to get them on a fish quick, and if you don't, like, it's really hard to sink the hook on the new fishermen in a way. They gotta catch something.
That's the truth. Yeah. Yeah. And even if it's like, so with fly fishing, I feel like the hardest part is really just get people fishing. Like when they're new to it, it's really hard to like actually get them fishing. But once they're fishing, then it's like, if we've got everything going right, then they're hooking up. And at least if they're missing fish and touching fish and having that rod bend, that's like a good hook, like a good little bug starter. I've noticed. Yeah. And then it's like, well, you're at the San Juan. It's one of the hardest places to fish in the world, and you never know what you're going to get. So that next fish could be huge,
Right.
And then it's like, well, that person catches that 26er on the first run, and then the rest of the day is like, oh man, how you going to beat that?
Right. Peak too early.
Yeah.
You've gotten a little place down there. You're in Bayfield, which is kind of a small town, Colorado. And then you've made this transition into guiding full time. How's that been accepted? And what was that like doing that process of making that decision to kind of, hey, I'm going to go all in on this? Talk a little bit about that decision process.
So the decision was kind of like not even up to me. I got laid off my job.
Okay.
That was kind of the foot. I had already been thinking about it. I had already been wanting to do it. I was planning on doing it. I was waiting for March, because March is when we can buy our new season licenses. And I got laid off in January. And as soon as I got laid off, I camped on the river every day. I started staying down there as much as I could. My wife kind of hated it, but it was one of those things where it was like, hey babe, if we're going to do this, then I really need to like make sure that I feel like I'm ready. Because if I don't feel like I'm ready, then it's going to be hard to really trust my gut as I'm fishing, or as these people are fishing that I'm taking out, and to feel good about it. So then I stayed. It was a no-brainer. I wanted to do it, and then I got laid off, and it was like, we're doing it.
Right on. The universe spoke.
Exactly. The universe spoke. And that was kind of like I had two fellow employees that I was taking out on the boat and basically practicing a lot with. They hadn't been, one of them been fly fishing a while, one of them had not been. And I kind of was using them as my little
test subjects.
Let's get you guys fishing and see, test subjects. Let's see if I can actually do this. And then it was working. And we put everything into it. I mean, it took it took some money to like get everything going, and insurance and license permits and all that stuff. And New Mexico is like nothing like Colorado. Colorado, you got to go through like guide school, and you got to have all these hours on a river rowing to be able to have like your lead license or whatever it is. Here we just have to have a CPR, first aid, and anybody can buy a permit.
Okay.
So that part of it is kind of like the easier way in, I guess you could say. Now, though, I guide for another shop called San Juan Angler in Durango, and I get the opportunity to fish some of the high country stuff in Colorado. Majority, it's all wade fishing because you still have to have like the lead boat stuff, and so it was a no brainer getting laid off, and that was already where I was heading to. I was already like talking about it and being pushed towards that, and making that first step. I mean, it was hard. It was crazy, but I am so thankful and I am so blessed, and I've been successful.
That's great.
Yeah. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Right.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you take these leaps of faith and you make decisions and you change, and then when you see that success, right, that's the payoff, and that's like, yeah, I can do this and I can sustain this, and it can be, now you're doing something you love, and that's real special, dude. That's awesome. You're at a young age and you're doing something that's bringing you value, and kudos to you, man. That's awesome. That you took that plunge and you did that. I think it's great. And that's the fascinating thing. And that's what I mean. Like, we're trained to, you got to get a job, you got to provide, you got to do these things. And then you end up grinding out things that you don't really want to be doing, and you're finding a way to do stuff that you love and keeps you fulfilled, mentally and emotionally and all those good things. And dude, that's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. And I mean, I love, like, I did 7 days. I did 4 wades. Yeah, I did 4 wade trips and 3 floats. And I mean, I get nothing out of it, right? Except, I mean, I get paid, but I don't get to fish, right? But what I enjoy most is netting fish. Like, if my people are at least like bringing some fish to the net, I mean, that's my fish too at a certain point, and I get more enjoyment out of netting that fish and seeing the excitement on these people's faces. Like, there's just that is all of it for me. I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
That service and that reward, there's nothing like it. I agree, dude.
Yeah. And I mean, we're totally entertainment, like, and I like to talk, so it's, you get some people that don't like to talk, and it's like, well, I'm gonna make you talk today, so I hope you're ready for it. But yeah, I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't change anything, and I'm so happy to be doing this, and yeah.
That's
I can't.
great.
It makes
That's
me
great.
speechless because it's hard to even accept it still. Like, I've had a couple. I have this one guy, you may or may not have heard of him, Jude Duran. Vita Trusha on Instagram. He is I would call him one of the heavy hitters on the river, and I've been fortunate to have somewhat of a little bit of guidance from him. And without him, like, there's things that I wouldn't have known about, as far as river etiquette and the boats and the guides go, and there's certain things like that I can't really learn on my own. I can always observe, but there's like little things that he's taught me in that aspect that has been really, really good to help me do better and be better on the river too, with all the other guides.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. Mentorship's huge.
Yeah, it definitely is. Especially when like you're going into something or doing something that you never really had anybody teach you, and you've really learned a lot of it on your own. So just to have somebody just kind of take you in and teach you these little things that a lot of people were just like, oh, he's a new guy on the river, I don't want him to take my business, or I don't want him to, there's all that competition, that competitive aspect of it still. I mean, the guides are guides, they're not going to tell another guide what fly they're using, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, not that I ask or anything, but.
Well, it doesn't hurt to ask.
No, it never does, right? I tell people, it's funny too, because people could ask me anything on the river, and I'll tell them. I want to see everybody catch fish. I mean,
For sure.
I think we have like 3,000 fish per mile. There's plenty of fish for everyone.
Yeah. No, we're big proponents of, there's there's no real need for there being secret holes and secret bait and secret places to fish. I mean, there's enough for everybody. Even if, I mean, I guess if everybody in the US showed up to one spot, that'd be a lot of people, but there's plenty of river for everybody. There's plenty of fish for everybody, and it's much more important. And we've talked with a lot of people, and everybody's kind of in some ways worried about the future of the industry if people do keep kind of keeping so many secrets about stuff. And so it's
Yeah,
important to encourage people to get out and have success, and like we said, catch that fish that gets them hooked on actually enjoying the sport and being somebody that focuses on
exactly.
taking care of everything. So huge cornerstone of what we focus on is sharing and getting people out on adventures that they like to do.
Yeah, that's the beauty of life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of life and mentorship, as you've moved around the country and been in different places, different cities, different hobbies, community obviously in all those aspects is such an important part of each of those hobbies, and being in different locations and just being a human. I guess, where have you seen community as an important part of your life, and how have you been so good at finding it?
I am uh, very much an introvert as I am an extrovert.
Mhm.
So I will pick up conversation with anybody. I'm that guy that if I net a fish and you're wading in the river and my boat floats over into your space, I feel terrible. And I say, "Hey, I'm so sorry." And I start asking them how their day's going. And if they like to talk, they'll talk. And if they don't, then I'll move on. But 80% of the time, I'm like giving them like a couple flies and just saying like, "Hey, try this." And the next time I see them on the river, they're like, "Hey, JJ, those flies you gave me, they worked good." And I'm like, "Awesome, hell yeah, dude!" Like that's kind of like what I like to hear. And then I find my community at the fly shop. Um, San Juan Angler specifically. That's my shop. That's the shop I've been going to for the last 3 years since we've been out here. Cole Glenn is the owner now. He just got ownership of the shop this year, and he's an awesome dude. Um, the people that come through the shop, like they always have a good experience. What I've noticed with going to fly shops over like the last few years is like sometimes you go into shops and you feel like way inferior to the people inside those shops. Whether it's what kind of bugs you're asking for or asking for information, they just like some shops make you feel like belittled, and they have no idea who the person is that's coming through the doors. And it's like that person could be brand new, or that person could have been doing it for 50 years and just coming in to grab a couple bugs, and you're just a total blow off, and that's not cool. And like the San Juan Angler is that shop that doesn't do that. Like anybody can go in there and talk to any of the guys that are in there at any moment, and they're going to feel welcomed, and they're going to feel like they got something out of the experience, and they're going to feel like they have a sense of community. As far as a fly shop goes, there's a couple other shops in town, and they're kind of the complete opposite, and I don't go to those. If I go to the angler and they don't have what I need as far as like a material to tie or something, then I will order it online instead of like trying to find it in the other shops, because I've been in there before and asked for material, and they're like, "What? Like you use that?" And I'm like, "Bro, it's winter time and it's what the fish are eating. So yes, I use it. Like you don't have to be rude about it." And like totally just made me feel like, like I didn't belong. And then also with like the river, I know a lot of the people on the river, and a lot of the people know me, and we all know each other by name. And it's definitely like a good feeling of a sense of community as far as being on the river. And and everybody wants friends and everybody wants to feel like they're liked by others. It's just that's a human nature type thing. And to be able to just feel like I have a sense of community as far as the fly shop and the river is really nice. Like having Jude as that somewhat of a mentor, and having like there's other people like James Garrettson and all those guys. Like I look up to them. I'll say it.
Right.
And they're awesome fish. Like they're awesome guides. They're awesome fishermen. They're awesome anglers. I feel like they enjoy fishing really as much as I do, and I enjoy fishing as much as they do. And it's great to feel like I've been accepted, really. Yeah, I would say that was the biggest sense of community, is feeling accepted into it. Some places I feel like you could go and some people do certain things and then they just get black flagged right away, and I tried to stay as much out of everyone's way when I first started so that didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
like
Right.
I would be in a hole, like maybe anchored retying or something, and a boat would come in and I would know that they're working and I would just pull anchor and leave. Well, I found out later on that they were like, that guy JJ, I pull in and he doesn't say hi. He just pulls anchor and leaves. And little did they know, I was just trying to stay out of their way. I wasn't trying to be rude, but then I realized I just start saying hi to everybody.
Right.
And then it was a good feeling of a good sense of community.
That's awesome that you just put yourself out there. I mean, that's half the battle, it seems, is just, putting a smile on, being happy, and just seeing how people are doing and helping out in any way that you can. I think it's a huge part of the whole process. So kudos to you for.
It's not an easy one.
No, not easy at all.
Especially in, like, I imagine in like a small town like that, to kind of break into that is you got to be willing to do those things and put yourself out there. But definitely we've had, several people talk about how, the stuffiness that some of those shops and the fly fishing, it's intimidating in some ways, and some shops are like that. So that's great that you found, a place that is welcoming to any and all, the newcomer especially, because, like Ed mentioned earlier, I think that there's something about passing this sport on to the next generation and the ones coming up behind, that you don't want to turn those people off. We want people in to do this, to maintain the conservation and all of the things that we're working towards to keep fisheries good and to keep, the sport alive. We need that next generation coming in up behind. And so it's a huge piece to it. And if people aren't welcoming and aren't bringing in and doing their part to bring in, it's going to die. And none of us want that. Right.
No, no.
So that's cool that you've put yourself out and you've dived into this thing and are going full force and found some people that are supportive of you and mentorship and all that kind of stuff. It's so important. So I think that's awesome, man. That's great that you got it going on up there.
Yeah. And it's been amazing. I'm truly blessed. And I mean, like, just like anywhere else, I mean, like even in Florida, there's nowadays, right? Because now people are guiding so much fly fishing in Florida. There's still like old crusty guides. And it's everywhere, there's crusty people everywhere. And it's kind of like just being like, hey, crusty dude, how are you today, man? You're killing it. I see you. And then they smile and they're like, oh, he's not so bad.
Absolutely.
And then
that young whippersnapper,
like, shut up. Yeah. They're like, they get down, I hear JJ from a half mile away.
That's good. Get off my lawn.
Well, that's awesome. We obviously, it's one of our dreams to get down, fish the San Juan. It's always just a little bit far away from a trip from Denver to get down there, but it's definitely one that we got to do. So if we were to come down, and we will, let's live plan a trip together.
Not,
You know,
not if we were, when we come down.
Yeah. When you come down.
right. I'm sorry.
Come on, Ed.
I blew it. I blew it. When we come down, let's live plan like call it a 4-day, 3-night fishing with JJ trip. Float, wade, it's up to you. Let's just hit it.
I would probably stay in Durango. There's if you were to do like the hotel thing, there's lots of good hotels in Durango, like right downtown. Because then there's plenty of good food and there's plenty of good places to go out. The river is only about an hour drive from Durango. You could stay closer, like in Aztec or in Farmington, New Mexico, but I enjoy walking around Durango a lot more than Farmington. So I would say, as far as like hotels and stuff, I would stay in Durango. And then you also have the Animas River. I mean, like right outside of town. So you could walk with your fly rod to the Animas, and you could fish the Animas as well. And that's a freestone river. And then fishing, yeah, I would say like wade 2 days and float 2 days. So then you get the best of both worlds, and then you get dialed in. The first day is usually like kind of figuring out how we fish the lawn, because it is somewhat the same but a little different. We're nymphing, double bug rig with an indicator. You can throw streamers early in the morning.
Yes.
And yeah, I like to throw streamers early in the morning. I like to throw streamers and hook meat in the evenings.
You haven't said my favorite word yet, which is stimmy.
Dry flies.
And stimmies. No, the other dry flies are worthless to me. Just stimmies are all I fish. So I don't know if I'm going to come down.
Solid cloudy day. Yeah.
Solid. If the sun's shining, Ed, you're gonna have if the sun's shining, you're gonna have to like expand your horizons a little bit. Fish differently.
Okay.
Oh God.
Yeah. I mean, you can find some fish to rise, but you're gonna have to force them. I mean, our bugs are tiny though. That's the hardest part. We're fishing like 26s and 28s, and I mean, I usually do like a 22 or 24 as an attractor to bring them into a 26 or 28 size midge or emerging fly. But yeah, I would say lodging in Durango, hour drive to the river, and it's a beautiful drive. And then there's fly shops all around. I say San Juan Angler is the place to go. There's also Duranglers in Durango. And then there's down by the river, there's a place called Floating Fish. Ray is pretty cool. I sometimes go in there and get a couple flies if I feel like I am low on something. Otherwise, I try to tie a majority of what I use just to save money.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and I would say that would be my thing to do. If you wanted to, there's a place called Rainbow Lodge down on the Juan on the river. That's really awesome, owned by Steve Gill. I do a little bit guiding for him as well. And you could actually stay. They have a place on the river there where they do like really, really nice meals, like bougie meals.
Right.
It's super nice. I've gotten the chance to eat there a couple times for dinner, and it's like some of the best dinners I've ever had.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's nice. But yeah, that's what I would consider like the lodging and the fishing.
Cool.
Yeah. You also have like plenty of lakes and stuff too that you can hit near Durango too.
Right on. So is it like small flies year round on the Juan? I mean, do you ever get any hatches, or is it pretty much like those tiny flies year round?
We get our hatches, but it's usually like a larva, pupa, like emerger midge, larva, pupa, midge, emerger stage, maybe like a BWO.
Yeah.
The BWO is kind of like the dry fly hatch. We get a ant hatch every year, and it's like you really have to like be there when it happens for the ant hatch. It'd be usually after like a big rain, so it happened just like a week or two ago. But most of the time, I am fishing a double nymph rig with 26 foam wings. Yeah. I like my go-to fly. Everybody's got their go-to fly, and mine's like a chocolate foam back or chocolate foam wing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to run doubles. Yeah. In the morning, I'll fish a little junkier, like a leech to like a red annelid. But most of the time, it's small bugs, except for the winter.
Cool.
Wintertime, you can fish a lot more junk, eggs and worms and leeches. Because of it being so cold, you don't get as many hatches.
Right.
Sometimes in the winter, though, with the sun being full blaze and blue bird, then you'll get some hatches in the winter too, and it's awesome. But
Nice.
I mean, the river fish is really, really good all year round.
Year round, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There's nothing more fun too. I mean, the winter, I love it. You put me out there on a blizzard.
Yeah.
Yes, the worse conditions, the better the fishing. Yeah, I am all
Nice.
in. That's why we're down to fish.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
You always
that's
got to be
awesome.
down.
yeah, always.
Well, this has been awesome, man. How about we wrap this up with some rapid fire questions?
Cool, awesome.
Awesome. What is one thing that you are currently celebrating in your life?
Right now, I'm celebrating the success of my business.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
A lot of the guides have hit me up and said, "Man, you're doing really good. You're doing a lot more trips than I have done when I first started in my first year." And just hearing that from those people has been huge. So that is a big success. Being able to guide more. When I went into it, I told my wife if I could do 2 trips a week, maybe even 1 trip a week, I was going to be happy. And I've done 7 days a week. I've had at least three trips a week since March. And
Nice.
I that's the success. I couldn't be happier with that. Keeping me busy.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Feeling like I'm able to keep my bills paid and family floating is a good feeling.
Right. Well, and hearing that from established guides who have been doing it, like that's encouraging, dude. That's got to be.
It is.
That's got to feel great.
It does.
Yeah.
It feels really good.
Kudos,
I'm all
man.
giddily just telling you guys that.
Right. That's good. Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because we tend to, as human beings, we think about all the things that go wrong in our lives, right? And so we kind of get giddy when we start to think about those things that are going well in our lives. I don't think we do enough of it. So it's great, dude. I'm glad your business is taking off and doing well. Give us one piece of content, book, video, something you're watching, series, whatever, a piece of content that you'd recommend to our listeners. It could be anything.
Yeah. So a lot of people tell you I like picture books. Curtis Creek Manifesto. Otherwise, because of the fish that we have, and my favorite fish nowadays used to be a snook, but nowadays is a brown trout. So I've written. There's literally a book that you can get at the library called Brown Trout, and it tells you everything about how they live, where they like to live, how they like to eat. It tells you about their spawning. So like you could even take advantage of that some days.
Right on.
Yeah. I don't fish spawn fish, but I like to fish behind spawn fish, put me back there
Right.
20, 30 yards and take advantage of the guys eating on the eggs. Like, why not?
Right.
So I've learned a lot from that brown trout book and how to target browns. I love browns, and that's a big thing for me. They're beautiful, and I love a brown. Yeah.
Nothing better than a buttery brown. I agree.
Absolutely.
Especially when they're hammering streamers.
Yeah. Yeah. Slap that thing on right on the edge of the bank as hard as you can. I want that meat eater.
What is your favorite fishing memory?
So when I was 12 years old, or maybe 11, we were out on the intercoastal. I had a little spin rod. I think I told this in the beginning of the chat, but I had a little freshwater spin rod. I was out there with my brother. I was throwing a little crankbait, a freshwater crankbait, and a little, like, I don't know, maybe 20-inch or 18-inch snook. Smacked it, maybe like 20 or 30 feet from the shore, and I just was reeling all the way back to the shore, and that fish followed the bait. It just followed it all the way up onto the beach and jumped. I mean, he was hooked, but he jumped right onto the shore at my feet. And I mean, it was like 10-pound test. And my brother was just like mind blown, and we were both celebrating like it was my first snook ever, and he couldn't believe it because it was 10-pound test. I don't know if y'all have ever caught a snook, but they have these razor sharp gill plates, like right behind their gill. And that's how they cut you off. They do a head shake, and that line catches the gill plate, and it's gone. And he followed me all the way in the shore, and it was just best day of my life.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's my childhood memory of really, and that's what set it off. I mean, after that, I was hooked.
Done.
Yeah,
You're in.
yeah, done deal for the rest of my life. Yeah,
All my chips in the middle. All in.
yeah, yeah.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great.
Buying Calcutta reels when I was 18.
Right. Oh, that's great. Give us, JJ, what's one piece of advice you wish someone had given your 20-year-old self?
Man, 20-year-old self.
You're out there, you're biking, you're breaking limbs, you're, rupturing spleens, you're doing all that stuff. At 20, what's one piece of advice you wish somebody would have given your 20-year-old self?
If I would have stuck to what I loved back then, I would have been doing it a lot sooner.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it, but I fell in love with fishing so much at a young age that if I would have stuck with fishing, I probably could have found out about more stuff is involved with fishing at a younger age. Instead of, it was fun going down the path that I went down, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But if I would have found that you could be a fishing guide,
right,
at a younger age, and I could have done that when I was 20 years old and fishing to the snook at the dock lights,
right.
We could have been taking people out then and putting them on snook. And I just,
right.
you never would have thought of that. So telling my younger self at 20 that I could monetize whatever I want in this world would have been like a big thing, whether it was teaching kids how to skate or teaching people how to fish.
Right on.
Because it took me another 16 years to figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's great.
What is your definition of community?
My definition of community would be a sense of belonging and purpose and feeling like you belong somewhere. That would be my definition of community. If you're out somewhere and you feel like you don't belong, it's not going to really keep the attraction of wanting to go to that place. And I think that's part of the reason why I kind of want to be so nice to everybody and be welcoming to everybody, because definitely see from some people like that sense of not feeling the community and not feeling like you belong, and then kind of second guessing, well, should I be here? And as long as there is other people like me feeling somewhat welcoming to a lot of people, then that's the sense of community that I think is what's right, I guess, or if that even makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
awesome.
totally. Yeah, I think it's great. The idea of making others feel welcome and being supportive of them, and when they're doubting themselves, that's huge. That's that's at the crux of it and the core of it. So I love that idea.
Yeah, and Instagram is huge nowadays. Like social media is a big thing for a lot of people nowadays, and I get a lot of people that I just say, just a comment, of nice fish, and you can see that goes a long way. And like even in some people might not be handling the fish the way that some people want them to, and there'll be like a lot of rude comments, and people are still missing the whole point of that person's post, which was the fish. And yeah, like whatever it is that people might not agree with, like picking fish out of the water for a grip and grin, but like not everybody's going to agree with everyone, and to put that person down like is not right. So even just a hey, nice fish, and all the shitty comments goes a long way. And I see people all the time. I'll be like, hey, you need any help netting that? And some people are like a little like, get away. And some people are like, oh yeah, you're happy. You're just as happy as I am right now for this fish. Yeah. Right. And that's me all the way. I'm that guy that's loud on the river, happy, and
That's
saying,
That's
good.
"Hey,
awesome.
do you want a net? Can I come hang out with you?"
That's good.
Well, we've been doing this now going forward with all of our guests, and we're calling it the conversation between guests. And so we have a question from our previous guest, who was Peter Stitcher at Ascent Fly Fishing in Littleton. And
Mhm.
his question to you is, what is a memory or moment when you felt most alive on the water?
Memory or moment that I felt most alive on the water. I've had a couple kids in my boat over the past few weeks, and every time the expectation from the father is that they're not there to fish, they're there to watch their kid, and they want their kid to get the bug. So my most live moment has been the last 2 times that I've been out with the 11-year-old girl and the 12-year-old boy. I got them on fish pretty quickly, and I felt probably the best. I mean, there's no good feeling. There's no best feeling in the world than like putting some kid on a fish that's never really fly fished, or even if so the 12-year-old boy did a little fly fishing, but you could tell he had never caught, he said he never caught a brown. So that was my goal. Let's catch a brown. And then we got blessed with browns the entire day.
Nice.
And you could tell the kid was just hooked. And then just the other day, the 11-year-old girl, her dad was like, I just need her to get the bug. I just want her to fish and enjoy it and be hooked. And she caught the first fish. And that was amazing. Even with dad being a total stick, she caught the first fish. And that was the most live. Yeah. Just
Right
the
on.
excitement. I get just as excited as anybody. And if not more, I get more excited. So me having to contain my excitement for them too is
Yeah.
like, it is the best feeling I could ever have in the world. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is one question for our next guest that you want to ask them?
I don't, has anybody ever asked, why do they fish, or why do they fish now?
Yeah.
No,
Good.
that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll ask that for
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd say, why do you fish? I think I fish for the pursuit.
Right?
Yeah. The pursuit. Every day is a new pursuit.
What are you pursuing? What's your pursuit that you're after?
I haven't personally, I haven't caught, so I've caught huge saltwater fish. I mean, I've caught like 40-inch snook, multiple 40-inch snook, and I haven't caught a 30-inch trout yet. So I'm still on the pursuit of my 30 plus. But at the same time, I hope it hits me as much as it has those big saltwater fish. But it's that constant chase. That constant chase of well, we're not hitting them right now, so what do we need to change? And that's that. I think that's that constant pursuit of trying to figure it out the entire day. If it was easy, then how often would we go and do it? And it being hard makes me want to be better at it. With all the things I've done in my life, skateboarding especially has taught me that, like, me, the type of person I am, I want to be good at things. I would love to be great at it, but to be great at it could take a lifetime. And if it takes a lifetime to be great at it, I'm totally okay with that.
Right.
That's awesome.
And I think that's the pursuit. Yeah, just having that constant chase of never knowing what's going to come, what you're going to hit, what's going to get landed. Yeah,
Love it.
Well, this has been awesome, man.
it has been.
Yeah, this has been fantastic.
I'm glad. You guys are awesome. It'll be great to meet you guys in person.
We're coming.
Yeah, no, we're definitely excited to get down. Yeah, we're coming.
There's
Heck
no
yeah.
if about it. We're coming.
Heck yeah. No, I know you are.
Ed needs to fish little flies to understand how easy and simplistic stimmies are.
Yeah.
So
That's
he
the
needs to
truth.
feel that pain you were talking about, right? That pursuit. He needs
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, stimmy isn't the only thing in the box.
It's the only thing in my box.
We'll let you stem me in the evening. We'll let Reid throw some nymphs, and we'll wait for you to go. All right, I'm ready to catch some fish.
All right.
That's right.
Either that, or we'll just join you with the dry fly action.
Yeah.
One of the two. Hey, JJ, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you, get in touch with you. What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can find me at downtofish.net.
Okay, nice, like it.
Yeah. Also, Trout Dad on Instagram, and then we also have a downtofish.co on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook, JJ Naico. But Down to Fish, I think I have my phone number and all my booking information. If you want to get on the river and do some fishing, I'm always down to fish.
Awesome.
The
Right
worst
on.
weather, the best weather, I'm in. Bring a rain jacket. The gear is what makes it miserable.
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, we'll link all that.
Yes, sir.
We'll link all that in the show notes and get you linked up. So
Awesome. And thank you guys so much for having me on. It was great talking to you guys. I'm glad I finally get to tell my story to more people than just the people I've gotten to tell it to, because not many have heard it.
Well, it's a good one, dude.
this is awesome. We'll talk soon, man. All right, everybody. I've got the feedback, and I'm not supposed to say, oh, man, that was a great conversation. So I will say that was a great conversation. JJ was awesome.
That was a great conversation, though. JJ, my fellow Floridian. Yeah, dude. Immediately it was funny when we started talking before we even started shooting. It was just like, we're talking about Florida, we're talking about skateboarding and surfing and doing all those things. And so, meeting him took me back, dude. He got me immediately back into like when I was a kid and childhood, and we were talking that stuff. It was great.
It was funny how like I couldn't get you guys to shut up to like even start recording because you guys were like hamming it up about growing up like 15 minutes apart from each other. I was just like, all right, I get it. You guys like Florida. That's so cool. Woohoo.
It was cool because you don't meet too many people. So no, it was cool to share that. And one thing that really stood out to me about JJ was his sense of adventure. That you don't. That high octane lifestyle of skateboarding and BMXing, and and he took it to a level where he was injuring himself and doing all that kind of stuff. But that even translated into like his starting a family and moving out to Colorado and living on a bus, and you know what I mean. Like there's this sense of adventure that he had. That just is weaved throughout his life. That's impressive. It was really cool to hear about that kind of stuff. And, in a lot of ways, it makes me jealous about all the, man, I should have done that. Man, I should have done that. But that was really cool about JJ. I enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how he went from like a physical high octane lifestyle to just like a mental high octane lifestyle of entrepreneurship and like going out and figuring out the ropes of doing what he's doing on in some ways, a kind of a new hobby for him, right?
Right.
Being a fly fishing guide. I mean, I know he fished his whole life and everything, but to go in and just like learn a river and become an expert like that. I mean,
sell your bike, buy a boat, go do right. Yeah. That just diving right in and learning a river to the point where you feel good guiding it. And he's doing great, with that. And I think, the testament to it all is his stock in what he's found in mentorship. Some of the old timer guides there who are supporting him and giving him kudos for the job he's doing there. That's a big thing to have behind you in terms of support. So it's great that he's finding that kind of mentorship and help there in that community. Just fantastic.
Yep. I think that's half the battle in a lot of cases, is breaking into that community and figuring out how to do what you got to do to get the job done. And if you have people that are there trying to keep you from doing that, that makes it just even much more harder. And so the way he's been able to break in and make friends with people, and the way the community's been open arms to him has been great to see. So truly, truly awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to get down there and fish with him. Absolutely can't wait to get down there and hook up with him.
Got to get on that river. Looks awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, another good one in the books, man.
Absolutely. Until next time, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too. Talk soon.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening. Make sure to visit our website, guysfishingweekend.com, to check out the GFW merch, sign up for our newsletter, and learn how to get involved with the community. We appreciate you spending even a little bit of your week with us and are glad to have you along on the journey. Stay legendary and happy fishing.